official diagnosis is mixed connective tissue disease, but it leans towards lupus. Lupus is a chronic disease where the immune system attacks the tissues and organs of the body, also known as an autoimmune disease. Inflammation caused by lupus affects multiple parts of the body, like the joints, the skin, the kidneys, the lungs, the blood cells, the brain, and the lungs. As far as we know, there is no cure.
I've known your mom for 25 years.
That's a hard question because it took like 7, 8, 10 years for me to get diagnosed with something. Somewhere in my mid-30s. As long as I've known Mom, so for about 16 years, she's always had lupus or some sort of sickness of a kind, more the chronic side, and I would even wager that she even had lupus even when she was pregnant with me, so 17 years, maybe even before Luke was born, so that would be about 19 years, and then further on.
Yeah, we had a feeling that something wasn't quite right.
Well, I had my B12 checked when I was in my early 30s, like 30, 31, and it was below the reportable range for that test. So I did a little research and they kind of confirmed it too when I was talking to them about it. It takes about 15 years to become deficient, and so it had to have started when I was a teenager, but I just didn't know it. Lupus is very difficult to diagnose because its symptoms not only vary between patients, but the symptoms also could resemble another chronic disease. Extreme fatigue. I get arthritis in my hand, well, pretty much anywhere. Mostly my hands and my feet and my knees. I get this skin rash all over. I have some like parameters in my blood that are abnormal, considered abnormal, that kind of point to it as well.
Well, she'd get these rashes all over her body and she would sit and scratch on them until she made herself bleed. They've affected my life by kind of like taking me out of life in certain ways. So instead of like doing something fun with my family or something, I'd be too tired and have to go to sleep or to bed. I'd like to be able to work outside more and for longer periods of time because I enjoy that, but it really wears on me. I think just the biggest complications I have are the arthritis pain, because it will come and go and you never know, and it will move around, so it won't always be the same joint. And so I can just start walking really funny because something hurts, and it's hard to hide when you're limping around. Those aren't the only symptoms and complications from lupus though. Yes, the butterfly winged rash across your face is a big red flag. But there are other symptoms like fibromyalgia, which is a hyperactive nerve sensitivity. There's also shortness of breath, dry eyes, and headaches. But the killer of lupus is the complications like kidney damage and failure, which is the leading cause of death from lupus. Others are like pregnancy complications. Women with lupus has an increased risk of miscarrying their child, but with moderate treatment to keep the lupus flares under control. There are only a few treatments I know about Mom and her lupus, and it is doctor appointments and drugs.
Yeah, she always has to watch in regards to how much she her energy level and what she goes and does in a day. Like in the summer, we'll go and we'll do things early morning and try to do outside work for 2 to 3 hours, and then we'll be done for the day. Just let her rest and relax.
Oh boy. Well, in the process of trying to figure out what I had to take a ton of like antihistamines because I just had this really bad rash and super itchy, and I was on so much antihistamines that I could barely stay awake. But the worst was when they put me on methotrexate. It's like a chemo drug that I don't take it at the same dose as if I had cancer, but it's a lower dose of it, but it still made me feel like I got hit by a Mack truck about 24 hours afterwards. And then just real sick to the stomach. I never threw up or anything, but real sick to the stomach. And then when I went off of it, my body remembered like the timing of taking it. So even though I wasn't taking it, I would start feeling nauseous and gross the night I would take it, just because my mind was playing tricks on me.
I remember when Mom was on methotrexate, she would take it about Sunday evening, and then Monday she'd feel so sick she couldn't do some stuff, or she would have to go to bed early.
Oh, she's enjoyable. She likes going on hikes. We just have to make sure that there's something that's reasonable that she can do and not wear herself out.
Yosemite Half Dome was the hardest hike our family ever did. It was about 24 miles. We had zigzagging stairs going up, zigzagging stairs going down, back down. So it was about 24 miles both ways, including the zigzags, and the California heat with low water. But she still did it. I honestly don't know if the lupus at the time was affecting Mom. She never showed it. She didn't sign. We were just helping each other, but I'll know she's one strong lady to make it up halfway to Half Dome with lupus than me, who stayed on Quarter Dome without lupus.
Yeah, I think so. I did really well. Hiking is my release, or what brings me serenity. And so I did really well on the hike. It's 7 miles up. I think it's like 4,000 elevation gain. And then when I got to the cables, I couldn't use the gloves we brought because they were slipping. I got some garden, like sticky gloves. And I could only make it up halfway because the planks on the Half Dome are further apart than you think they are, and so you have to do a lot of upper body and hand strength because you gotta hold on to those cables really tight, and it was really starting to hurt. So I didn't quite make it to the top, but I did really good, I think.
Well, because she's a great woman.
Because you're my lovely daughter. No, I think it's mainly because you've seen some of my issues throughout time. Because I've had it for as long as you've been born, and it kind of started mostly with symptoms that I noticed as being wrong about 6 months after you were born. So I feel like you have a connection with that a little bit.
The reason why I picked my mom is because she's still Mom with lupus. She continues to take care of Luke and I. She continues to be here for us. And even though she's feeling bad or doesn't have the energy to, she still finds a way to enjoy time with us. Whether or not it's just watching a movie on the couch or playing games or going on a hike. And she just lives life to the fullest with an autoimmune disease. Lupus isn't new. The earliest record goes all the way back to 1230
when the name lupus derived from wolf because the lupus rashes looked like a result from wolf bites. Lupus went through 3 stages of history. The classical era, when lupus was pretty much being discovered. The non-classical era, when lupus was labeled as systemic. And the modern era, to bring it all together, except for a cure. The last breakthrough was 2015 when scientists was able to cure mice lupus with combining 2 existing drugs together. Still, 16,000 new cases yearly, 1.5 million people in the US and 5 million in the worldwide are affected by lupus, like my mom, like my medical laboratory scientist mom. Yet, she's still awesome. Love you, mommy.
Love you, baby.